morning, all of you. We will continue with the second chapter in history, European powers in India, and we are having a look at the English East India Company. Okay, so let's continue from page number 18, the last paragraph where we have left. Okay, now in 1650, the East India Company, they also got the permission to trade in Bengal, and so they started to set up their factories at Hooghly and also other places in Bengal. Then Charles II, the King of England, he gave permission to the company in 1661 to issue coins, to build forts, to maintain army, and to declare war or peace according to the circumstances. So though they came here just to trade, but still uh, they were starting to have many settlements here. So Charles II, who was the King of England at that time, he gave the East India Company permission that while they are in India, they can even issue their coins, they can build forts around their factories, and they can maintain an army in case they feel that they needed protection, and also for the advancement that they may advance more in their business and all, in their trading and all. So if they want, they can maintain army, and if circumstances arise, they can even wage a war, they can go for peace in any circumstances. So depending on the circumstances, they can do all this. And then he also handed over the island of Bombay. Now this island we have already done that. King Charles II, he got this as a dowry when he married Princess Catherine, who was a Portuguese princess. So he had already got Bombay as a dowry, and he also handed over the island of Bombay and to the company in 1668. So he got it as dowry, but he handed this to the East India Company in 1668. And after this, in 1691, the company, they also got exemption of customs duty in Bengal. Means they do not have to pay custom duties. They got freedom. They got you can say they got waiver. Means they don't have to pay the custom duty in Bengal for their trade, but they had to pay 3000 rupees a year in return for it. So throughout the year, it means whenever they are doing trade, so whenever they are bringing things or taking things, so at each time they do not have to pay money, but only once a year 3000 rupees they had to pay. That was it. Then further, in 1689, the company, they developed 3 villages in Bengal, and they developed those 3 villages into a city, and also built Fort William around the factory, and this city came to be known as Calcutta or Kolkata as of now. Okay, so 1689, important year. The company, they developed 3 villages into a city, which and built Fort William also there around the factory, and this city came to be known as Calcutta. Now by this time, the company, they have become quite strong also, and they were now quite successful also in eliminating, means in removing the influence of the rival powers in India. So they were able to eliminate the Portuguese, the Dutch, all right, and the Danes and all from here, and so they were successful in eliminating the influence of their rival powers, and they now started to interfere in the political affairs of the states. So now, since they have eliminated the competition was not there. Most of the trading companies were defeated by them, and so now they started to interfere in the politics of India, in the politics of the states, as the Indian political conditions had also become weak. And so Indian political conditions by now, they were very weak, and so they started to interfere so that they can get more concessions, and they could also get control over different parts here. Now, Anglo-French rivalry in South India, means English-French rivalry in South India. Now, we have seen during the course of this chapter that the Dutch, the Portuguese, the French, English, they all came to India as traders, and basically all of them wanted to make huge profits. They wanted to increase their profits, they wanted to maximize their profit through trade, and the center for all of them was same. All right, now all wanted to trade with India, and they wanted to make huge profits from this trade. All right, now naturally all wanted a share in Indian trade. So obviously, there would be a competition. So there were feeling of competition among them, and as a result, they became rivals. They became enemies because all wanted a greater share in the Indian trade. And so with time, there was this competition among them that each one wanted a greater share at the cost of others, and so finally it led to rivalry or enmity between them. uh, they started, and what they did, like I told you that day, that earlier there were five trading companies here. So like, if even if we don't talk about the local tradesmen, and if we only talk about these five trading companies from outside India, so all wanted a share. And if there are five, then obviously everyone will get only 20% of the share. Now if you eliminate one and there are four, you get 25, so you are increasing your profit. The trade share also will increase, and hence the profit will also increase. If you'll get more from here, then obviously you'll be able to sell more outside, and then obviously you'll make more profit. And if you remove one more, there are only three, you get 33%. You remove one more, all right, and you have 50%, only two remaining. And then if you alone are there on the scene, then obviously all the trade is monopolized by you, means you have exclusive right over all the trade. And so this is what they wanted. And so they started to eliminate each other from the Indian market, and in the end the English, they were victorious in removing, in eliminating the Portuguese and the Dutch. But the French were still here till the end of the 18th century. Now both France and England, now they wanted to establish their supremacy in India. Both wanted to make India, obviously first it was only trade, but then they wanted to make here India their colony also. And therefore war started between England and France, and which were known as the Carnatic Wars. Now the causes, what were the causes of these Carnatic Wars? Let's see. Why they are called as Carnatic Wars? Because they were fought in the region of the Karnataka. Now both English and French, they had come to India as traders, and so they have come here traders. They simply wanted to get as much money, as much wealth as possible. And so they wanted to, it is not amaze, it is amass, 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 you can correct that word. It is not amaze, it is not to surprise. They did not want it to surprise, they wanted to amass, means they wanted to gather, they wanted to accumulate huge wealth. So both the trading companies, the English and the French, they wanted to make huge profits. They wanted to gather and accumulate great wealth through trade with India. Now as a result of the Industrial Revolution, both England and France, they wanted to control the Indian market. And we have already seen that as a result of Industrial Revolution, it led to colonialism and imperialism, and the countries, they wanted to uh, they started looking for colonies from where they can get raw materials at cheap prices, and also markets where they can sell their finished goods. And so both wanted to control the Indian market. Then further, they also came to know, like earlier, they were simply interested in getting things from here, like the spices, indigo, textiles, and saltpeter that we have already seen. But while here, they got to know that they can also get raw materials from India at very cheap prices. So they already have factories there, who have started the factories which have started production. And so they wanted raw materials from them. So they realized that from India they can get raw materials for their factories at cheap rates, and also in large quantities. And so now both wanted the same thing, so obviously the rivalries, they increased. Now, one more reason was that, politically by this time India had become very weak, and it was easy, it was quite easy for them to win more Indian territories, because India had become politically weak. There was not no very strong empire to hold them all together during this time, and so, it was very easy for these powers to get political control over India, and as a result they became rivals as far as their political interests were concerned. So not only their trade interests collided, but also their political interests, they both of them, they wanted to have a control over India. Politically also they wanted control over India, so obviously more rivalry. Then the French, they had their headquarters at Pondicherry, and now this was not very far from the British center at Madras, Kolkata. Okay, so now obviously their trading center is not very far, so obviously this, that is why also, it was very easy to attack each other. Secondly, the English had also set up close business connections with the Jagat Seths, who were the bankers of the Nawab of Bengal. Now, Jagat Seths are very famous bankers of Bengal, and so the English, they had very close connections. They set up very close connections with the Jagat Seth, who were the bankers of the Nawab of Bengal, and so the French did not like this, and so wars between the English and the French were sure to break out. Means it was like that there would be wars between them, because so many interests, so many things collided among them. Now the first Carnatic War, 1744 to 1748, so for 4 years. Now this war was fought between the French and the English over the issue of Mughal Suba of Carnatic. Now, so the first war was over the issue of Carnatic, and the English company, they lost Madras. So during this war, the English company, they lost Madras, that is Chennai now. But in 1748, Madras, it was handed back over to the English by the French through a peace treaty. So though English in this war, they lost Madras, but still, through a peace treaty, they got it back. Then the second Carnatic War. Now the second war was fought over the issue of succession, as to who would be the next king, who would succeed. Alright, now the French, they wanted to install Chanda Sahib as the Nawab of Carnatic. So yeah, in Carnatic, like both of them were interested there, and both wanted different person to be the next ruler. So where the French wanted Chanda Sahib to be the next Nawab, the English, they wanted Muhammad Ali to be the next Nawab of Carnatic. And so again, this clash of interest, it led to the second Carnatic War, and in this war the French were defeated, and Muhammad Ali, he was recognized as the Nawab of Carnatic. Okay, then the third Carnatic War. Now this was from 1756 to 1763. So this is also known as the 7 Years War. See, because it went on for 7 years, and so this war between the French and the English, when the 7 Years War broke out between the English and the French in Europe, so it was not that they were fighting only in India, but in Europe also, both the countries were at war. So at this time already there was a war between these two countries, which is famously called as the 7-Year War. And so they already, this war broke out between the French and the English in Europe, and the last phase of this war, you could say 7-Year War, the last phase of the 7-Year War, now which is known as the third Carnatic War. Now it started between the English and the French in India. So already they were fighting in Europe, and you can say the last stage of this 7 years war, it was fought in India in the form of the third Carnatic War. Now in 1760, the third battle of Carnatic, it was fought at Wandiwash, and now after the French were defeated by the English forces, and English forces were led by General Sir Eyre Coote. And so, after this third war of or third Carnatic War, the French, they were terribly defeated, very badly defeated by the English forces. And so the French, they lost their possessions which they had in India. And though after the Treaty of Paris in 1963, not 1963, it is 1763, make it correct, not 1963, it should be 1763, when the 7-year war ended. So when this 7-year war ended in Europe, so after that they had a treaty. And so after the Treaty of Paris, France, between France and England, so the French company was given back its territories in India. As we have already seen just now, that in the third Carnatic War, the French have lost all their possessions here in India. But after this peace treaty at Paris, they got their factories back in India, but they were not allowed to keep troops. Now they were not allowed to keep an army to protect themselves. And so we can say that their dream of establishing an empire in India, it was dashed to the ground, it was completely destroyed. And the East India Company, the English East India Company, now they established their supremacy in India, and now they can go ahead and conquer the country, because all the other foreign influences, they have completely wiped off. Okay, now so the French were defeated and the English East India Company, they were successful. So what were the reasons for the success of the British and for the failure or the defeat of the French? Let's look at some of them. Now there were many reasons due to which the English, they got success against the French. Now the main reasons here are: first, the British, they had better settlements here at Bombay, Calcutta and Madras, and as compared to the French settlements at Mahe, Chandranagar and Pondicherry. Now the English settlements were better both from commercial point of view as well as from military point of view. So because the British had better settlements, so that was one advantage. Then the English company, they had better financial condition, and they always had more money with them. They were better financial condition. How? Because they never neglected their business. They, though whatever circumstances were going on, but they never neglected their business. So though even war was going on, even at the time of war, all right, so still during that time also, their focus was still on their trade. So they were always making profit here, whereas the French company, they were always suffering enormous, means huge losses in trade. So that was also one of the reason. Then the British, they had full control over their sea routes, and the British power at sea was superior to that of their rivals. So that was also one of the reasons they were much better at sea as compared to the French and the other rivals which they have ousted or removed from here. Then the English East India Company, they got full support from their government in Britain, whereas the French company, they did not get any support from their home government. So the English East India Company, though it was a trading company, but for everything they got full support from their government there in Britain. But the French company, they did not get any such support from their own government, and so that was also one of the reasons for the success of the English. Then Prime Minister Pitt's policy, now it also contributed to the British success in India. Now what was his policy? Now he managed this situation in Europe in such a way to make the French busy in wars, alright, that were fought in Europe between England and France at that time. So like I told you, they were already, it was not only that the English and France were fighting here in India, but they were already fighting in Europe also. So what Prime Minister Pitt did, he made the policy in such a way, to keep the French busy at war in Europe also. So you know that if they will be busy in war at Europe, so obviously they will not be able to pay much attention to what is going on in India, and they will also not be able to send much support to India. And so the France, you know, because of that, France, they could not send help to the French in India, and in the form of, so because you know they were engrossed, they were busy in this fight, in the war with England in Europe, so they were not able to send much help in the form of money or troops or even ammunition. So that was also one of the reasons. And so after the Carnatic Wars, the theater of conflict now shifted from South India to Bengal. So you know, after the Carnatic Wars, earlier the Carnatic, it was a scene where all these wars were taking place, but now the theater means now the drama of this conflict, now it shifted from South India to Bengal. And you know, here the East India Company, they had a factory at Kolkata, and in 1757 the French, they lost, you know, they had Chandranagar in Bengal, and so they lost it to British in 1757. And in the same year, that is 1757, Robert Clive, he laid the foundation of British Empire in India by defeating Sirajuddaula, who was the Nawab of Bengal. Now at that time, Bengal was a very huge province, and it comprised of present day Bengal, Bihar, Orissa. Alright, and so you know, Robert Clive, he laid the foundations of British Empire in India by defeating Sirajuddaula in the Battle of Plassey. Okay, now you know, the English, they have now already established their dominance or their supremacy in South. They have defeated the French in the three Carnatic Wars, and they have ousted them also. Alright, so they have got control in South, and now they were ready to spread their wings, or you know, to spread their influence over in other directions also. And you know, by treacherous and deceitful means, you know, the ways that the Britishers used, now it was like, you know, through deceit and through wrong means. You know what they did, they made one king in India fight against other, one ruler fight against the other, and this they did, you know, by, you know, saying wrong things to one ruler against the other, and supporting one at the cost of another. And so you know what they did, through deceitful means, through wrong means, all right, through lies, the British, they pitted one ruler against the other. And you know what, as a result, what happened, the rulers, they fought against one another, and obviously they became more weak. And after, you know, the decline of the Mughals, now Bengal was ruled by independent rulers. So after the Mughal Empire, it declined, and there was no strong Mughal emperor, so Bengal, it was ruled by independent rulers. And Alivardi Khan, he ruled over Bengal and Orissa, and he was a very efficient ruler, so he ruled there from 1740 to 1756. And you know, he was a wise ruler, so he understood that what were the real intentions of the British, and so he tried to keep them in check. He understood their real intentions, and he tried to keep them in check. And so as a result, you know, the Britishers, they were not allowed to fortify their settlements, means they were not allowed to build a fort or fortress around their settlements. You know, these forts and all, they were or this fortification. Now what happened, they used to build these thick huge walls around their settlements so as to protect them. And so you know, they were not allowed to do that. And in 1756, Alivardi Khan died, and Sirajuddaula, who was the son of his youngest daughter, he became the Nawab of Bengal. So till the time Alivardi Khan was there, the Britishers were not given much space to do anything in Bengal. But you know, after he died, and his youngest daughter's son, became the next Nawab of Bengal, Sirajuddaula. So now when he came to the throne, so he had many problems. He was not liked by his relatives. The relatives did not like him being on the throne or the Nawab, and so they wanted to overthrow him. They wanted to remove him from his position of Nawab, and the Britishers, they tried to exploit the situation, take advantage. Exploit here means to take advantage of the situation and gain from this instability, because though he became the Nawab, but the relatives, they were not happy, and they were trying, and they were planning to remove him from his throne. And so Britishers, they took advantage of this instability which was there in Bengal, and tried to get control over Bengal, which was at that time the richest Indian province. Okay, so for today we will stop here. Have you all understood what we have done today? Is it clear to all of
Yes,
you?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay.